made on members to attend seminars, to fill in questionnaires, and I'd particularly like to thank the members of the Democracy Working Party because they have looked at a lot of these issues in great depth. So, just in conclusion, in moving these changes, as I said at the outset, our aim is to improve governance and decision making, to ensure that we're more open and transparent in how we operate. I really want us to focus as a council on taking the organisation forward around our key priorities of tackling inequalities, delivering growth in our economy, attracting jobs and new investment, and protecting vulnerable people. But I also want us to develop a new culture where we move away from a position where everything is politicised to concentrating on practical improvements that will improve the quality of life for residents that we represent. Mr. Mayor, I would argue that these changes are not particularly radical. Indeed, to quote a member of the Improvement Board who attended the last Members' Development evening on April 4th, they are not particularly transformational, he said. They are what normal councils do. So, I hope sincerely that all elected members will engage with these new models of governance and resist the temptation to oppose everything without at least giving these changes a chance to work. I so move. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, First Amendment, Councillor Green.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And whilst clearly the Labour Party is happy already because some of them seem to believe that they know what's going to happen in the debate. Maybe that's the whole point. Let me just be clear on some of the items. Sorry. Sorry. So I thought you'd have mellowed a little bit. One of the issues for me, we talked about the corporate peer challenge. I didn't see anywhere in the corporate peer challenge that said we should remove the opportunity for councillors to bring matters to be debated at the council chamber on behalf of their residents. Nowhere in the corporate peer challenge didn't say that. And I'm not sure that there was anything that the LGA Improvement Board said that should happen too. And if it did, that would really be the final straw with the LGA, frankly, if they don't believe that we should be able to debate issues of concern to residents. Mr. Mayor, I suppose this is possibly the last debate in the council that isn't approved by the Labour Party, because apparently that's how it's going to work now. Council, the Labour Party will decide what can and can't be debated in the council chamber. Now, they have a majority and have an absolute right to determine whatever they want in terms of the outcome of a discussion and a debate. I think what I take particular exception to is they've now moved on to the stage where they will decide what is debated and what isn't. Mr. Mayor, changes to the Constitution, and I know at the moment people are suffering with the bin tax, the increase in the parking charges, the closure of base centres,
Councillor Davies.
I'm glad to see that the Labour Party has learned about ending Punch and Judy parties, Mr. Mayor. So, as I was saying, given that residents of Wirral are currently suffering under the bin tax, the increase in parking charges, the increase on residents' parking, and the closure of day centres, etc., it seems perhaps a bit prosaic that we're going to have a debate about the Constitution. However, the reason I find the Constitution important is because, to me, the role of the Constitution is to protect the public of Wirral from an overmighty administration, whoever that might be, whether it's a Conservative, whatever, or Labour administration. The Constitution is there as a bulwark to protect the public from an overmighty administration. And what concerns me, Mr. Mayor, is that it hasn't taken very long for the administration, officers and so on to determine, well, that's all a bit messy. It's all a bit messy us having to go through these politicians and to talk to them and allow them to debate it. We just want to get on and do things. I've always said to officers that say that to me, well, perhaps you picked the wrong job. Because when you became a council officer, you signed up to the fact that these issues will be debated and we will be inclined to think about their impact on our constituents. Mr. Mayor, taking each of the changes in turn, let's be clear. One of the elements of these changes is to remove the children and young people's and the adult social health and wellbeing scrutiny committees. Given Wirral's history, Mr. Mayor, given the abuse that we know was suffered by some of the most vulnerable people in our society, in our community, given what we know about, the constant threat, the ever-present threat to children and young people about child protection and so on, it seems to me a backward and dangerous step to actually remove any of the scrutiny. And let's get it clear when officers say to them, well, I asked them about the Martin Norton test. Will these items make it more or less possible for Martin Norton to blow with us and for us to raise them and to have them discussed? Well, it didn't stop it, they say. No, but we did put it on the record and we were able to, when we had a chance, to do something about it. What these changes seek to do is to stop us even having it debated, asking the administration to explain themselves, and that's part of the reason why we believe these changes, getting rid of those scrutiny committees, is inappropriate. The issue with regards to child protection, I would call, is absolutely self-evident. In terms of the, maybe it's that I care about child protection, I don't think so. Mr. Mayor, the other element I wanted to talk about is the area committees. Now, people might know I've been quite supportive of the concept of area committees. And in fact, the Leaders Board, which apparently is going to have this as a constant agenda item, I asked at the Leaders Board some 6 months previously to actually have a report on what was happening to area forums and what were we going to do about area committees. The Leaders Board, or the Chief Executive of the Clerks of the Leaders Board, never felt it appropriate to bring that back so as we could discuss it. It actually popped out at the Cabinet when it was announced about what it was going to be. Rather than seek all-party support, the process that was adopted was deliberately to try and cause division. And it has, because guess what? It hasn't been thought through, it is unclear. To say it saved 381,000, it has, because you just cut all the money that we've actually used to give to the area forum. So to say that somehow this new structure has saved money is ridiculous. You cut the money that was given to the communities and allow the communities to prioritise, and instead get given a far meagre sum to the area, to these new area committees. And again, the relationship between it and this public service board, who's running who and who's meant to make some of these decisions is still, as I understand it, unclear. And then finally, Mr. Mayor, the changes to council. The proposals, I understand it, is for the administration to have the officers write a report for them, so they write a two-sided report, and members can ask questions on that two-sided report. They don't get an immediate answer, they're not allowed to ask a supplementary, but what then happens, at the end of that procedure, Mr. Mayor, the Cabinet member scoops up all the questions that have been asked and then has 5 minutes to provide an answer. I was told, now if that's what happens at every other council in the country, I'll be interested to see the evidence base for that. I was also told, when I asked about, also what's happened here, about removing the right of members to place on the agenda and have debated on the record and to listen to the administration's response about issues for debate. Not those that are just approved to go through the Labour Party's approval process, but those which individual members on behalf of their residents want to have debated. And I asked, how many councils across the country is there that do not allow members to raise issues on behalf of residents and have them debated at the council chamber. Not very many, I was told. Well, it's not 90% of local authorities are doing it this way, because my guess is that we have a lot more councils that allow for those issues to be debated. It is only here that the tendency to hold power to oneself, to make all the decisions and to sweep any opportunity at all for any backbenchers to raise issues and have them debated is being implemented in this town hall. Let me be clear, as I understand it, we still have powers of the Local Government Act, and if necessary, if the Labour Party try and avoid scrutiny and avoid debate on some of these issues, we will requisition a council to make sure they get debated. If the Labour Party won't allow us to have them debated on behalf of the public, we will make sure it is. We remember the libraries. We remember Martin Moore. We remember what you did in terms of closing care homes. We will make sure it gets. We will make sure, Mr. Mayor, that these issues are debated, whether the Labour Party and its administration likes it or not.
Okay, well, thank you. We have an amendment, Councillor Harney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'll behave myself after what I said at the beginning, but nobody else will. He said it was hell shining. I would like to try to address these issues. There are some concerns for me, as I'm sure every member of this council, by looking at the sort of origin of where we are, or where we think we are. And I must say, it has caused me more concern. We all remember, or at least those of us who were here, remember the publication of the Banowski report, and the fact that we had a briefing, which I think almost every member of the council attended. We then had a series of issues, we were told, that showed how terrible Wirral was. And some of them were, I thought, rather extreme. In terms of, we've had 2 public interest reports, no other authority even gets 1 every 10 years or some such strange statistics. But we've had more investigations since then. And this is really the concerning thing. It seems that maybe the Audit Commission didn't get it quite right. At least that was the decision that this council made on investigating various officers, if you remember. And I feel that, in fact, those of us who are members of the council may have had political differences. We did not believe that we were running a basket case council. We didn't believe that. The question now is, what really was happening? Why did we get an inaccurate report? Where do we come from? Where are we coming from? Are we coming from a basket case council, or a council that had problems, but actually was similar to other councils in this land that maybe hadn't got the same publicity as we had, because we happen to have a whistleblower, and Martin Morton has been mentioned. If he hadn't said anything publicly, what would our perception be? And I feel that, in fact, there are many councils which have got irregular staffing and so on. Bullying is something, all the surveys show, most employees in both government as anywhere else, most employees, over half, say that they've experienced bullying at work and so on. I'm not, obviously I'm not justifying anybody, but I'm asking the question. Where did we come from? What evidence do we have? And the next question, which we need to know to see where we're going to, is, well, where are we now? What is happening now? Now, I'm quite happy to say, well, obviously, if you publicise a particular area, people I hope to make sure that that area is all right. Do we really know what's happening throughout the council? Do we have a means of questioning anybody to say, well, can we actually make sure that these things aren't happening now? Now, really we should know, shouldn't we? So what is the answer to that? We don't know where we came from. We don't seem to know where we're going to. My opinion is that this is actually, as a sort of governance body, our prime function to actually ensure that we